Hello and welcome to the Two Robbies podcast, your destination for in-depth discussion and analysis of the Premier League. I'm Robbie Mustoe, he's Robbie Earle, and here are today's topics. It's a banner day in Liverpool as Arne Slot's men seize a historic 20th English top-flight title with a stonking 5-1 win against Tottenham Hotspur. The FA Cup final is set after Crystal Palace provide a shock result against Aston Villa and Manchester City do the business against Nottingham Forest. It was all too much for Kieran McKenna and Ipswich Town as they suffer a 3-0 defeat at Newcastle and confirm their relegation from the Premier League, and Nicholas Jackson's strike provides a crucial winner for Chelsea in their hunt for a top 5 finish. That's what we have got coming up in today's episode.
Okay, my friend, I know you weren't in this weekend, but sitting at home watching the pictures come in. It was a Liverpool party, mate. It was a party for the ages. It was a party making up for COVID and the pandemic and not being able to really celebrate that first Premier League title under Jurgen Klopp as they should. But there were special scenes today. It was a special day for this football club, Rob, when you think historically where it's come from, what it's done to get that 20th top-flight title to equal that of Manchester United. Kind of sum up what you saw of the day, and then we'll get into a bit more detail about the game and maybe look towards where the future might be with Arne Slot and this team.
Yeah, the game kind of comes secondary, Rob, doesn't it, to what we saw afterwards, really. And I think we know what sort of club Liverpool Football Club is. We know that they won a title 5 years ago, but it was during COVID, and it must have been incredibly frustrating for those fans not to celebrate with the team. So this was always going to be a huge celebration. And, you know, the scenes at the end, I mean, there were so many great scenes, from the tears of Alisson to the manager and the players dancing on the pitch afterwards, Rob. It was a dancing celebration like we've never seen before. Just the reaction from the Kop. I think probably my favourite moment, the most powerful moment. I mean, by the way, you know, a lover of football like we are, you get a lump in your throat when you see that kind of stuff. I mean, that's kind of stuff that you dream of as a kid. Like we're all, you know, when we're all kids and we play the game and we start watching football in England when you're a young kid watching the telly and the big games and all that, you dream about things like this. This is things that the dreams are made of. And my favourite bit is when Virgil van Dijk pulled everybody in a big old line, the whole club. And by the way, I love it. There's people that get hugged, Rob, that nobody's got any idea they are. You know, like females, males, like you've never seen before. That's the staff. That's the background. That's probably the kit lady. That's probably the cafeteria staff or the receptionist at the front desk. The whole club was there, and to line up and get You'll Never Walk Alone in front of the Kop, I thought that was probably the most special moment of those celebrations that were all tremendous. The lap of honour. It is a special football club, and that doesn't, you know, it doesn't mean that that we're a fan of any of the clubs in the Premier League.
More biased than some people might think.
Yeah, we're not. I mean, some people think, you know, that they always think you're biased with all that against their club, but just the way that that club does it, the celebrations and the atmosphere that's in there, it was a very special moment. We can get into the details of star players, the manager, and everything else, but just the appreciation of the football club. And I think it was maybe the second thing that Arne Slot said in his interview was about the whole club, the whole staff. The Jurgen Klopp kind of mention and song at the beginning was great as well, to give to tip of the hat to Jurgen Klopp and what he did to put this team together. But just the humble nature of celebrations were outstanding to me.
You know, honestly, it was one of those, Rob, where you're wishing somehow you could be pitch side. I was envious of the boys who we had, John Champion, Graham Mustoe and Steve Warner, who did a brilliant job before the game, setting the scene, after the game, great interviews. You know, I want to talk about the Mo Salah interview that I thought was fascinating. Just that the people, I think I said, the Alisson moment, the director, whoever was working, got the shot spot on. Took one shot of Alisson, who's in tears, who's a very experienced goalkeeper who, you know, in a few years' time might not be at the football club, but what it meant to him, Rob. And then there was a great shot of a gentleman that they just caught at the time where there was a tear in his eye. He was looking up, he was screaming Liverpool. And it was just like, wow, you know, as players, you put everything in and you give them. But the fans do the same, Rob, for 38 games. They travel everywhere. Go through the weather, you know, whether it's Ipswich who've just come up or you play Manchester City, it's all the same sort of preparation for them, and it just sort of brought it all together for me. That and that's what winning a title means. And unfortunately for us, we were never able to win titles. But I saw a number of players today using mobile phones, none more so than Mo Salah. The Salah selfie is now the thing, trending number one on social media. But there was an interesting, Rob, where I noticed a lot of players with phones, and part of me thought, well done. Because we both played at times where you had your big days and your big moments, and they're just memories. There's no real, I mean, of course you have TV footage now, but you don't get that inside, that emotion, those things. No. And players now can do that, Rob, and can keep that and can show that. Like, and I was sort of, I was pleased that I saw players who were going to take this in, and maybe some will be moved on to other teams in times gone by. And there might be a time you just go back and play that some of those last scenes, those You'll Never Walk Alone, the on a slot, the celebrating together. The whole group of people, you say, staff, ancillary staff, data analysts, scientists, masseurs, all who are part of the team of Liverpool Football Club when it being top of the table. I thought it was an outstanding day, and Liverpool did it proud.
They did, Rob, and that's 20 top-flight titles. And obviously now we can say that they're the most successful team in English football history.
Yeah.
20 titles, domestic titles, league titles, same as Man United, but of course they've won more European trophies, so that makes them the most successful. A friend of mine, Liverpool fan, said they are the greatest club in England, which I was, maybe a chat for another day, mate, but like the greatest club, the most successful, but can you say they're the greatest?
What does that entail?
Does that bring in like history and global appeal? And anyway, we ain't got time to get into that right now.
That's another day.
But what is data and fact is they are the most successful team in English football. And I'll tell you what was also a powerful shot for me, Rob, and not so much emotion, but there was a quite a lengthy conversation that the director picked up on again between Arne Slot and Richard Hughes. Richard Hughes being the director of football, and he's the guy that's going to think about, he's the guy that negotiated the contracts for the two players of the three that are staying so far. And Trent Alexander-Arnold, as Stephen Warnock said, Rob, before the game, in some of his words, he's not 100% sure he's going to leave. And I'm kind of with him. It's obviously a high percentage, but if things are not kind of finalised to what Trent Alexander-Arnold wants, I can't imagine it being a difficult decision. So, you know what?
I'll stay.
This is So, I mean, I think we all know that that's where our money would be going, but it's not to say it's a slam dunk done deal just yet. But anyway, it's Richard Hughes. They're going to have money now, Rob. They didn't spend hardly anything last season. It was the same team. They've got money in the bank. They can look to strengthen the 11 instead of replacing two or three very expensive parts. And I just think it could be the start of something quite big at this club. There's a good age about it. The midfield is new, dynamic. Interesting, Arne Slot said afterwards that a team as often on new players is better in their second season. And I thought that was interesting, because they often are. Let me throw it back to you, Robin, just in terms of how he's done it. In that comment, he's kind of saying that Jurgen Klopp might have found a way to win the title this year with that new midfield in its second season. What's the important difference that's brought the title to Arne Slot, and how has he changed Liverpool a little bit?
So it's a great question, and I'm going to go straight to, and I don't know if you saw, after Mo Salah came to the desk, and it was that noisy in the atmosphere, and the mic wasn't picking up all, but we got a good sense of what he was saying. I thought the boys did a great job of asking the right kind of questions, trying to draw things from him. And Mo's brilliant, by the way. Considering he's a star man in that team, he's a legend in the Premier League, Hall of Famer for sure. He's so humble and giving, and almost feels like he's excited to be part of our broadcast. And there was something that he said, Rob. So he said, when Arne Slot came in, because I think it was Steve Warnock, said, tell us a bit of the difference between Klopp and Slot. And he said, different personalities, different way they go about things. But he talked about Arne Slot, and he said that Arne Slot initially wanted him to play a little bit deeper, a bit closer to Trent, to maybe protect Trent a little bit. And, everybody was talking about Trent can't defend and he gets exposed. And it was interesting that Mo said, so I listened, and then the day after he went back to Arne Slot and said, I can do that, but my numbers will be down. You won't be getting the goals from me. So are you okay? And it was a bit like, Arne Slot said, oh, okay. So Mo Salah said he went higher. They worked a way of finding, to get some security.
Which they did before a little bit. They did before a little bit. With Jordan Henderson used to go across there, didn't he, to help a little bit.
A few games this time, we've seen Gravenberch going out there to that right-hand side just to give a bit of protection. When we've watched the team, we said, Gravenberch taking a bit of an interesting spot out there. Now, whether that's at time, depending on the threat of the opposition. But the bigger thing for me, Rob, more than the detail and, the X's and O's and where they play, was the relationship and the player management between Arne Slot and Mo Salah. I think there was some cracks starting to appear with Jurgen Klopp. I think Jurgen Klopp's personality, and as brilliant a coach, as big a personality, as great a ambassador for the Premier League, I imagine when he's been around you for 7-8 years, Rob, I can imagine at some point getting a bit jarring. And I kind of feel like a new voice, a different way of doing things. There's a lot of talk about one-on-one conversations, group conversations, different way of doing things, different appreciation of the players. Whether it's just a change is a good thing sometimes and freshens you up. But I thought I took away from that, this Arne Slot guy's smart because he's given these some of the great players like Salah, okay, you're going to play high and now you got to get me those numbers. Well, he's certainly doing that. 28 and 18 goals and assists are pretty good.
I think it's an interesting point there, Rob, and I would sort of say there that maybe his management style in terms of man-to-man management is softer, just a little softer. A little softer where I think Jurgen Klopp, he's so fired up and he's so determined and he's so strong-willed and maybe a little stubborn that he really wanted his way from all players, and maybe Arne Slot's kind of confident enough, mature enough to say, I hear you, Mo. I hear you. Let me work with this, because it's a very interesting point from Mo Salah, and it's something that other clubs and teams and coaches at all levels, by the way, should consider. Should consider. An ideal left winger in some ways is a guy that can get forward and score goals, and he gets all the way back and regularly helps his fullback. Mo Salah's basically being honest enough to say, that's really difficult, guys. And if you want me to do that, I'm not going to have the same energy in that final third when he gets the ball.
Absolutely.
And it's so true. But so many players just kind of get on with it. It's the way I've got to do things.
But then you get 8, 9, 10 goals, Rob, from them and the other end of the pitch, because you can't kind of do both things.
Difficult to do both things. So if you've got a special talent and there aren't many of them around that you can make a special allowance for, then maybe that's the best way for him to succeed, and then ultimately the team to succeed, to be a little softer in certain situations. There'll be times when people will try and take the mick and try and grab an inch and go for a mile or whatever. And then the manager sometimes has to be, more strict. But I kind of like that conversation as well. I did hear the interview, and I thought that's two experienced performers, and Mo Salah's an experienced pro. Say, listen, I can do that, but just so you know, and I think that's great, honest feedback from the player.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Rob, because obviously you start thinking about Arne Slot coming in. I can honestly say I heard no pundit. I read no journalist. I saw no evidence that anybody thought Liverpool could win this title. I didn't see one. I never saw them. I rarely saw them in top 2. Most people had them somewhere 3, 4 or 5, depending on how he starts. And, will he just football, and will he be able to make the transition, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Based on what we've seen, Rob, and what we know now, and that the title's been won, sort of give me, if you can, 1 or 2 things that has impressed you, set him apart. And listen, we don't know what's going on in all the training ground, but we get a sense of certain things. What's been the most impressive thing, Rob, that he's brought to this group of players who finished 3rd last season, 9 points behind Manchester City, I think they were, to be 15 points clear with 4 to go?
Before I get to that, just back on the start of the season and stuff, I think what we all thought, Rob, is like, we just don't. It's hard to tip Liverpool to win the title when a new guy's coming in, and like we're not quite sure how this is going to go. The most, a strong part of everybody's probably who's in the game, who analyzes the game, thought, well, it's kind of tough to follow the guy.
Yeah, for sure.
But what we did also realize, I mean, we weren't, like this Liverpool team was in the title race last season for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that. They fell away pretty badly at the end last
March, didn't they? Yeah.
Was it March? Kind of,
Yeah.
But they were in it a lot, Rob. We said in the studio, we said this is a 3-horse race.
Yeah.
And it was for a long period of time. So this team was very good. But you're right. Nobody thought that well, this guy coming in, they're going to win it because of various factors.
Yeah.
Back to your kind of question. I think what you're sort of asking is differences or what he's done to.
Yeah, what do you see? What do you feel about this team that's made a biggest difference?
Well, I think it's the same stuff, Rob, that we've talked about throughout the season.
Yeah.
I think the speed of the football is different now. It's not heavy metal football. It's not, the big personality manager. It's not pumping his chest and fist pumping to the cop. He was confident enough, self-confident enough to basically say to himself, I've got this. I've got it.
Yeah.
I think I know what the team needs from watching last year. And they were very, very a little bit gung-ho. I think we can agree that at certain times. Everybody rushed forward. They conceded quite a few goals last year. He's definitely addressed that. The football is a little more patient and it's a little slower. And the fans at the start, I think, was it Stephen Warnock talking on the pre-game show about that it was like, well, this is kind of different.
To get used to him
and they had to adjust to
I
think I agree with
really
that comment.
Point, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was a good point that they had to say, oh, he is different and the football's different. It's a little slower. It's a little more patient. It's a little more attack with more insurance. It's a little bit more attack more safely than what we've seen before. I think that's there's a couple of key personnel situations. The Ryan Gravenberch, even though he doesn't seem like a spectacular kind of important part of the team, it is with his position and what he does. That midfield's kind of fluidity has been a big part of it, almost the last part of this team to mature into what he really, really wanted. And even in this game today, Rob, I'm still fascinated by that midfield. I'm fascinated by the midfield. They have such a unique understanding. You can never, very rarely, Rob, when Liverpool are on the ball, could you say, well, there's the midfield shape. There's a 3,
fluid,
there's a 2, and then the 1.
Yeah.
It's really, really fluid. So I think that would be my kind of differences. Just the good start, of course, helps. And then everybody realizes, oh, hang on a minute, this guy might be the real deal. Yeah. And then it builds from there.
Interesting, Rob, you say that. I've got to give you the Gravenberch stats. You've probably picked up, and I know it got picked up a bit more this morning, but I read it midweek and was like, I had to go look again. It's his 5th title, Rob. He's 22 years of age. He won 3 titles at Ajax. He won 1 title at Bayern, and he's now won a title. He's 22 years of age. He's won 5 titles. I mean, some going. It's Phil Foden kind of going. I just want to go back to Arne Slot, and we'll move on the conversation a little bit more about the game and maybe looking ahead. I just want your thoughts on. Listen, we were both fortunate enough to be in football from an early age and played had a decent career, played over 500 games each at certain levels, and I've had different managers and coaches. And Arne Slot, Rob, comes across a lovely man, like you say, different nature, maybe a bit softer than Jurgen Klopp, comes in a different way. I just wanted to get your feelings and if it was similar to mine, that there'll be another side to Arne Slot that I think the players either know of or have seen. And maybe we saw a touch of it come out at Everton when he apologised after and he'd had to go at the referee and whatever. But I just don't think at this level of professional sport you can be really the nicest guy in the world all the time.
No, I do agree. I mean, all the great managers that we know of, there's no question that there's an important tough side, isn't there? Yeah. An angry side, a scary side. We all know
that's
what
makes them the boss, doesn't it? That's what makes it different when they walk in a room and when training and when things are going on. It's something about them, Rob, that you kind of fear, respect, a mix of all those things.
Yeah, we very rarely through our position, we very rarely, he's very guarded on that.
Yeah.
You might get the odd little comment in an interview or the odd comment from a player or somebody really closely connected that just reminds us and gives us that little snippet. That's what we're looking for. We're like, we're interested in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We almost want that to be true because we feel like that's an important part of a successful manager, because there's been so many that definitely, you just can't be a soft touch in any way, can you, to be a manager of Liverpool and to win a title. So it has to be there. Of course, it's got to be done in a respectful way that doesn't lose the players. And whether you kind of think that Jurgen Klopp wasn't losing the players, but I know exactly what you mean. They looked a bit of an awkward atmosphere between two or three and the manager when Klopp was coming towards the end. And when there's a fresh person come in, he's still going to have that tough, aggressive streak, but he's got more patience. He's been around the squad a lot less. I mean, maybe Klopp just gets, over a period of time, you get fed up with certain situations, and then you snap a little bit more than you might otherwise have done. So, I think that's a good point, Rob. I think I would absolutely, almost 100% guarantee that he has got that. Yeah. It's just the respect that he delivers that with modern day younger footballers that maybe made a little bit more arm around the shoulder. But the scenes at the end and the congratulations and the cuddles and the dances and all that, and it's obviously a very special relationship. And also, like, the first season, this is crazy, Rob, isn't it? The first season in English football with this team, and it's an outstanding number. They've got an outstanding number of points. They're gonna,
they could get 92, couldn't they? If they went out
more than last year.
Then games.
Yeah. Well, so this isn't, and in terms of the title, Rob, about others and challengers, and some of the other clubs you expect to be there have had, for different reasons, haven't had their best seasons, but Liverpool have. Yeah. And Liverpool would have won it last year, probably on the points that they're probably going to get. So it shouldn't be undermined that this hasn't been a strong Premier League season. Yeah. It's that they've been champion performers. Yeah. And often we get another club that's champion performers right to the end. And we get, the last year went down to the last day, didn't it, with Arsenal, Manchester City. Yeah. So Liverpool would have been in it. They might have won it. So they're a champion team. Sadly, for neutrals, there hasn't been a champion contender this year, which is why Liverpool have won it by so many points. And the future looks very bright, given the squad, given the funds going to be available, and given the best players extended their contracts.
Well, what's great from our point of view, mate, is we've got another 4 weeks of Liverpool, so we can maybe touch on different areas and a couple of things. We'll maybe get to the Trent conversation. That's going to be obviously focused on now. They've won the title, and he's got 4 games maybe left in his Liverpool career.
It did start, Rob. I was pleased that he started just before on Trent. Pleased that he started, because there was a little bit of talk of maybe he shouldn't.
I'm not both really. I think they both deserved that opportunity to play today and be part of that.
Yeah, and I'm pleased he started it. And again, it means a great deal to him as well. Been at the club since he was 6 years old. Is it 20 years at the club? So I think the Trent watch is the next thing for the next few weeks, mate, to see how his body language is, if he plays in the team.
Well, he said today apparently he wasn't going to make any statement, because we asked for him at the desk, and apparently he put out through the press, wasn't making any statement today. It was about celebrating thing. He said, in due course, I'll speak to the media. So we'll see what happens, Rob. So, we'll have time to eulogise about Liverpool. And in terms of Tottenham, Rob, it's kind of quite an important day for Tottenham today, really. I know that they've got Europa against Bodo Glimt on Thursday, which is their season, which some people are saying is Angie's only hope. He went probably a little bit stronger than I thought with his first one, although Romero and Van der Ven did rest. Not the prep, Rob, you'd want for a European game on a Thursday night, a 5-1 defeat. Well, you're getting pulled and mauled again, and I know that some players that may not start, but there are some players that will start.
Yeah, I'm going to struggle with this little section of the podcast, Rob, because I'm always I always try my best to be really respectful when I criticise and when I feel strongly about these great teams, these great managers, these great players. But I was angry watching Tottenham because it was pathetic. And that's a strong word for me to say that about a club, a team like that. Yeah. They were pathetic. And you say they went stronger. Well, they didn't. The names, there might have been some big names on the field, but they didn't. But they did not in performance. I mean, there's absolutely no interest in the team in defending at all. No. And I know they got a big game coming up, but this is Premier League football. This is Anfield. This is a big occasion. go and have a good big performance. Like it makes they surrendered. I mean, we thought this was going to be a good matchup for Liverpool on this day, but they surrendered.
Yeah.
They did. They offered absolutely nothing. Going through the motions is probably the best. Is a better description to pathetic. But I mean, good header from Dominic Solanke.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, the effort and the fight and the running. You look at some of those goals, Rob. You look at the Spurs players. There's like almost 3/4 of the team are attacking, and they're just kind of jogging back as Liverpool have an attack.
The Salah goal was.
So of course I know about the importance of Thursday, but as a pride, as a professional player, don't you feel
you've
got
momentum, Rob? There's a momentum.
And all the fans
you
going
there. You conceded 5 goals, and then you're going into
a
game.
even that. Yeah, I'm not even thinking about that. Yeah, I'm thinking about the fans that drove up there, got the train up, and spent the whole day and spent money to go and watch Tottenham to basically walk around Anfield, knowing that this doesn't really matter. So that bothered me today, and I didn't want to make it about that, given the situation.
No, it wasn't, but it was an important day for Tottenham. They've got a huge week coming up in the life of this football club, mate, and there's, as you say, there's no appetite to defend. There's no structure, and here's a guy who's come in, Rob, on a slot, who could have gone, well, let's just carry on. Or he respects the league and he respects the opposition. And it was interesting, he did an interview before the game. I said to Bex, that's what makes this guy a bit different. He talked about respecting Spurs and making sure that the focus was right and the work was done, and that we don't allow them to come in here and spoil the party. And I kind of feel like he's adaptable and flexible to go with what's required, and I think the guy in the other dugout seemingly not, and it might cost him his job.
You know what, Rob? It was only a few weeks ago where we had I think it was me and Tim in a studio where it was Ahmed that was asking about Ange Postecoglou, and I said in our studio. Well, if he wins the Europa League, he's going to stay on. Yeah. He's going to stay on. Yeah. I can't believe now, in my head, I ain't so sure. I know there's been a few reports this week about that even if he wins it, he's going to lose. This is all reports, and and when you win a semi-final, and the players jump on the manager, and the euphoria comes forward, and then they're in a Europa League final, and they end up winning it, and the celebrations. I still think it will be tough to fire the manager, Rob. But I was kind of assuming that once most of the players are back now, that there would be an improvement in the league form, along with the Europa League continued progression in the competition, with a great chance now to go all the way to the final. I am thinking it might not be so because of
just look at the table,
nature of the league.
If you look at the table, I mean, they're 16th in the Premier League. Just above West Ham, who was supposed to be having a terrible time of it, and the bottom 3. They've lost 19 Premier League games. Yeah. That's half the amount of games already they've lost. Do you think, I can't remember, it must have been Tim, do you think that he would stay on with a Europa League win, Rob? I did till 2 or 3 weeks ago. The more I see results coming, the more I hear from fans, the more I listen to radio and Spurs fans. It's like, this isn't acceptable, Rob. Even with the Europa League win. This isn't acceptable. How do you think then, on the basis that this is league form, we'll be all right next year, we'll pick up, we'll be top 6?
I don't know. I'm assuming that Ange Postecoglou would says, we've had a difficult season with these runs and with injuries. Give me another chance.
Give
me another roll of the dice.
You've said a word before and think, it's about trust, and I'm not sure if Ange is losing a bit of trust, certainly of the fans and possibly the ownership. But we'll see about that. It was all about Liverpool, even though Tottenham did go one ahead. It was all about that 20th top flight title.
It was a wonderful day, Rob, wasn't it? It was a wonderful day for our sport,
great scenes,
really. And I hope the viewers and that, watch that and just fall in love with football a little bit.
Try to be authentic, try to stay out of the way of the pictures and let people just understand and hear and celebrate. And for new fans just coming to the game, Rob, that's what Premier League is all about. That's why everybody's fighting 38 games a season to get those scenes and be part of that celebration. So
it's amazing.
Yeah, congrats to Liverpool. Let's move it on to, it was an important weekend for 4 teams in the FA Cup semi-final, Rob. You'll be pleased to know that Crystal Palace beat Aston Villa. So my ears are still shrilling from Palace. all weekend. But yeah, a Crystal Palace team that did a job on Aston Villa. Villa didn't turn up the game, which was a real disappointment for Unai Emery and his team. But an Eze with a goal that kind of marks out his special talent. I thought Adam Wharton in midfield again was outstanding. What a play he is. And then one of our unappreciated players, Ismaila Sarr, coming up with a couple of good goals. Big John JP Mateta, top end of the pitch. I mean, there's so many good performances from Palace, and I'm so pleased for Ollie Glasner. So pleased for one of my best buddies, Mark Bright. I suppose we've got to be pretty pleased for Lady Lowe as well. Yeah,
Lady Lowe. Yeah, it's not really out there all that much, is it? I'm sure our regular viewers will know that she's a Crystal Palace fan, and she does an amazing job of keeping that very professional and very neutral on our broadcast. Fair play. But yeah, the go up, Palace! We hear that all the time in the studio, and she is absolutely emotionally buzzing with this. And my goodness, mate, didn't they deserve it? Didn't they deserve it? What a performance from Crystal Palace. I've watched a lot of them lately, and they've been a bit shaky and a bit open. This was brilliant without the ball. Very dynamic with the ball. Restricted Aston Villa to nothing, like nothing. They defended so well. And like you said, the front three players and Wharton in midfield that won the ball a few times. This was a total performance from Crystal Palace in the semi-final of the FA Cup at Wembley Stadium against the Villa side that only a few weeks ago I was saying like that. This is amazing. What happened to Aston Villa? I still don't really know. Is this all becoming too much from Rob? Is the season starting to take its toll? It's kind of mostly the same. There's some rotation now, and the squad has been better. We praise them for the attacking players that they brought, but they had no answer to Crystal Palace. And I was sat with with a friend of mine just having a beer watching the game actually, and I said, "This is why we love the game. This is why we love the game, because given these two clubs, you just never know what you're going to get on any given day. You just don't."
The Villa would probably be favourites, wouldn't they, going into it?
Of course they would. Yeah, and the disappointments they've had in the Champions League, and like, come on, this is a chance for us to win a trophy. I just expect them to win the game. But Palace, I'm so pleased for Crystal Palace, because there's different ways of reaching a final. I mean, that's the top way you want to reach a final, by playing a really good team that's just gone toe-to-toe with some of the best clubs in European football, in world football, and you beat them fair and square over one game in a neutral venue.
No luck, was it? It wasn't one of them lucky ones, or, we rode. So, congratulations to them and Ollie Glasner, and look forward to seeing them. And they will face a Manchester City team, Rob, that got the job done against Forest today. That game was obviously going on when Liverpool was going on, so we couldn't really see much of it. Goals from Lewis and Gavardio. To be fair, what I did see, Forest had a good go second half. Gibbs White at the post twice. Awani and one or two others. Langer came on. Interesting, Robbie, he didn't start Langer again. Plays Jota. I think he starts Jota and then brings Langer on with like 60 minutes to
well, there's something. He must have a little something, Rob, isn't he? He must have a little something.
Because, with Hudson-Odoi and him as the threat on a big pitch like Wembley, I'm thinking, that might be the way that they could do something in the game. Yeah, no, that's right. And also, mate, I know it's not very fashionable this season to give Man City any kind of praise or credit, but fair play. Fair play. And the team again, Rob, I looked at the team and much changed. I mean, he's got players playing that you wouldn't have expected. He's got players on the bench that you wouldn't have expected. He feels right now this is his kind of his best team. I think it's that same system. It's a little different. This narrow kind of 4-2-2-2 kind of setup that he's going with. I think it was the same again today. I had a little look at the highlights and a little bit of the team shape. But they're in again. They're in another cup final. And it could end up being not too bad on it. Champions League and an FA Cup. I mean, it's not the standards and the levels that we've known, but it ain't bad, is it?
Well, it ain't bad for most people. I mean,
and where they've been at certain times this season.
I know. Bernardo Silva said he said if they win it, it's still not a good season for Man City. The standards are so high.
I don't know if you heard the news that there's been talk that Haaland and Rodri could be available for the FA Cup final.
Oh, gosh, really?
So,
Wow.
I mean,
wow. I can't see it. There's no way.
Well, they say they're on the grass. I think Rodri's on the grass, and whether it's just
but he's got to stay loyal to this team, Rob. And this young team, and they've done pretty well. Rico Lewis scores.
That's what his drive will be, to win it. But
I'll tell you what,
Palace
mate.
will play City in May.
Yes, it's a couple of weeks, isn't it? A few weeks, isn't it? It's early, before the end of the season, isn't it?
Yeah, just before the end of the season. So big
I look
day
forward
out
to
for
that
both
game.
those teams.
I look forward to that game because if Crystal Palace can bring the same
they'll bring
organisation,
noise, they'll bring fans, mate, and if they can bring their A game at the top end of the pitch.
that they want their first major trophy. I think I'm right in saying that Crystal Palace have never won an English, major trophy in English football, and that's a big motivation. They've come close, I think, twice before, haven't they, in the FA Cup?
Can you imagine the Palace if they do get it done?
Insufferable.
I mean, we'll have to get sponsors, some earplug sponsors or something.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, she'll be smiling continually. But
FA Cup
I look forward to that game.
Yeah, look forward to it. Yeah, FA Cup final. And one team that's used to winning domestic trophies, one team that would give anything to land that FA Cup. We also now, mate, know that the three teams that we all possibly thought were going to go down have gone down. Newcastle 3, Ipswich Town 0. Kind of summed up where we are. Goals from Isak with the penalty boom with the header, and Asula coming on late. Ben Johnson getting a red card for Ipswich. So Ipswich get relegated, 21 points from 34 matches. One of the most surprising things, Rob, when doing this game, and it was kind of, I know they've lost most points from winning possession in the league, which kind of tells you at times their football was okay and they had goals. They got a goal scoring Liam Delap, but they weren't experienced, know-how, understanding wasn't quite there. The other point that surprised me, Rob, with Ipswich is they won 14 points away from home and 7 at home. I would have thought Portman Road, for a team coming up with a fan base and the way they play, would have been... And I think you've said before, when you come up as a promoted team, your home form's got to be strong to give yourself a chance, and then you go on the road and, you take your chances. But to have been so poor at home just surprises me.
Yeah, the thing I think with it sometimes is the euphoria from promotion that has great atmosphere at home stadium. You've got to take advantage of that. Exactly. And I think there was good atmosphere, but I think Ipswich Town are not bad when everybody was fit. They've had a ton of injuries that we don't kind of mention, but it's kind of important for teams that need their best players. I think going forward they're pretty good, Ipswich. The problem, Rob, when you're at home and your onus is on you to attack and to be proactive and trying to make the play, they leave themselves susceptible to counterattacks and not defensively strong enough. The main reason Ipswich Town went down is that defensively they can't rely on grind. They haven't got the players back there to secure a tough period. They're not durable at all. And that's going back to the winning positions, and they want us. Okay, let's make this nice and strong. Let's see the game out. They haven't been able to do that, and that is the number one thing when you come into this league. You have to have a defense or a structure that means that when you need it, you can look around everybody in the eyes and say, "Let's keep our shape. Let's defend, defend." And they haven't been able to do it. If you haven't got that foundation, well, what chance you got? And back to your question, if you're at home and you're on the front foot, and you got Amari Hutchinson, you got Liam Delap, you got
Jack Clark,
you got Jack Clark, you got some good attacking. You got Smollick's a good player. Connor Chaplin, the player I was thinking of, number 10, that's a creative type. If you get them going forward, those defenders have got less protection. And that's a problem. And that's what's happened. And it's going to be interesting, Rob, because Burnley, who are coming up from the Championship,
with the
could be a very different Burnley to what we saw before. They've got a ferocious appetite to defending like actually we've never seen before. I think their goals against number is historically low. And there was actually a little clip today on social media, Rob,
about back when they were 3-0 up.
Sprinted back to. So let's see. Let's see if that
Scott Boyd's doing a great
job.
job. The only thing I would say there, Rob, defending in the Championship, defending in the Premier League, two very different things. But you make a good point in terms of the way, and the point you make in terms of defensive. I was looking at the league last night and just thought, bottom three teams, Rob. Ipswich conceded 74 goals, Leicester conceded 76, and Ipswich 80. Three by far the worst, and that kind of tells its own story.
I looked at the numbers as well, Rob, and it's like how far away, how worse they are in that. It's not is a lot further away than how bad they were on goal scoring. So goal scoring, they were closer to some. So it really is. And of all the, mate, we've been around this a long time now. We played in it, we experienced it, we've watched it. You can. I'm not saying that Burnley were fun to watch, but the Burnley of Sean Dyche kind of could defend. Now, they weren't very good on other things, and that's another podcast for another day about styles and approaches, how to balance. We're playing out, we're not playing out, we're just bashing it long, because that's not great either, but you might be stronger defensively, but you might not score enough goals to get points to. So it's a delicate balance. And it's very, the only thing I would say, Rob, and I did hear you and Tim's conversation about teams at the bottom trying to play their way out. I agree. All I would say is that Kieran McKenna said that we changed our style of play for the Premier League.
Yeah.
Less football, less of that stuff they did in the Championship, and it still didn't work. So I still think it's not all about the style. Yeah. It's not,
No. Let's go. Wolves 3, Leicester 0. Wolves continue to go from strength to strength under Vitor Pereira. Cunha, the man of the moment with the goal. Strand Larsen gets a second. Gomez gets a third. And Jamie Vardy didn't quite get the goal that he would have liked after announcing that he's going to be leaving Leicester, missing a penalty after drawing a very Jamie Vardy type penalty where he goes past the keeper, leaves his leg there. Jose Sá catches him in it and he takes a penalty, but the keeper came up with a save.
Do you want to give me a little bit of love, Rob? If we're not,
Yeah, I was just about to say that, Rob, because Jamie Vardy's interesting because, we often sit in the studio and we debate, we have our little debates and I know there was a lot of talk about, statues and who deserves statues and, we used to say that, you've got to be at the very, very top of echelon and, it's for very, very special people. And I was sort of in the band of, I
was surprised at that. I was surprised that you were this.
And I was a bit like, has Jamie Vardy really deserved? And then I've got to be honest, Rob, I've been in a couple of conversations with our production crew and obviously all our staff and the people who work on the show, pundits as well as people behind the scenes. I've been reading up a little bit about him. I've been watching a little bit of tape. And you know what, Rob? I was wrong. Hands up. And I've sent $10 to a GoFundMe. Let's get a Jamie Vardy statue. When you think where this guy's come from, at what age, at what he's done, at his numbers, 11 straight Premier League goals to break a record, to win a title, to Golden Boot at that age, and that. Well done, Jamie. I was wrong, my friend, and I hope the $10 buys you something for the statue. Yeah, well, he's not. I'm not sure if he'll be a Hall of Famer, but what he's done in the spell he's done it, Rob, and by the way, he went to the Championship, I think, for 2 of the years that his Premier League goals. His numbers are incredible. His returns are incredible. Well done, Jamie Vardy. I was wrong, and
I mean, if you're a club like Leicester, Rob, and you've got an amazing goal scorer that's incredibly loyal, by the way, who could have went to Arsenal and said, I want to stay at Leicester City, that helps you win a Premier League title at 5,000 million billion to 1. If that player when are Leicester City ever going to have a player that would ever be a statue? And why not look back at your past? And couldn't there be any better past that Leicester City can look back on than a Premier League title?
No, you're right, mate.
I just don't know whenever you'd not. Well, good. Well, fair play. Yeah, fair play for admitting that. And fair play to him. What a career. I love his fire in his belly. Crikey, to run around and to the way he looks after himself and all that. I don't know where he's going to go next, Rob.
I was just going to say, talk to me next. So again, we've had a little discussion, and there was an initial thought like maybe he's not quite going to be Premier League, or will Premier League clubs really fancy him? I think Graham was going down that route, and I kind of went, ooh. I was quite taken aback because I straight away said to me,
I know what's coming. I know what's coming from Earle. You're going to chuck in
either of the promoted teams. Either of the 2 promoted and any other that comes up, if I have a chance to take Jamie Vardy,
why don't we think a little higher?
No, I'm going there after. But I'm just saying, as a new team that comes up, and you have a chance to get Jamie.
It'll be a struggle, won't it? Does he want to be in a struggling team every week?
I'm not saying he will. I'm just saying opportunities that I think will come to him in the Premier League. Beyond that, Rob, I see a couple of clubs. I see Wolverhampton Wanderers, with a good manager who might lose Cunha and whatever. I see Everton Football Club under David Moyes, who's a manager who will know to work with experienced players. I see Fulham Football Club, and then I've got my outlier. Now they're promoted, not in the Premier League, Wrexham.
Of course, the Earle's got
Wrexham.
That's a great shout. That's a great shout.
Can you imagine Jamie Vardy with the Wrexham boys? That's
a great shout. I was thinking a little higher in the league.
Okay, go on.
So I'm thinking of a different. I'm thinking of a different role. You're sort of saying, like, promoted club or a Wolves are going to play week in, week out.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ready to play week in, week out. But what a good option to come off the bench.
Yeah.
And I'm looking higher now.
Well, give me some higher.
Well, is Tottenham Hotspur to be in their squad? This guy is still sharp, but he looks like he struggles to play week in, week out.
He doesn't fit the profile of those clubs, does he? Like, and I heard Ange talking about the young players and the profile and all this stuff that Ange was talking about the other day.
I'm just saying as an option.
Yeah,
and this could be an expensive option.
I think
off the bench.
Exactly the same.
Yeah. Like that runs in behind. A lot of clubs now, a lot of forwards, they come deep, false lines and all that. But as we know, such an important way of scoring goals is high lines, is running in behind. And he doesn't want to play every week. You go to a top club, he's going to be buzzing to play at a top club. Yeah. He's going to give the manager a brilliant option. He's a great trainer. He's got a great attitude. He's still got fire in his belly, I think, from even watching him this season.
Yeah.
As long as he doesn't want to play every week, and some players do, but why not be a little light, like a little quick fire, experienced, good finisher, a really good finisher in a good team that will get chances, and he might get a valuable number of goals off the bench.
Can I chuck one more at you who comes out of the Championship if they win it? Is Leeds United.
Yeah,
he'd be a great Leeds player, wouldn't he? Leeds fans would love him.
Yeah, but would
he get enough chances? Would he?
No. I think he might. But are you thinking as a starter or as an off the bench guy?
I kind of would take that depending on what I see with my eyes, Rob, and how he trains and what his body's. I don't know what shape his body's in now. I hear that he doesn't train quite as much and quite at the same intensity you wouldn't at the age he is. But yeah. I know what you mean, but I still think there's plenty of life. I think he's got an opportunity to play in the Premier League. I think because he came in the Premier League late, Rob, and I remember this myself. I was like 25, 26 before I got to the Premier League. There was no way I was dropping out. And I think if he has a chance to play in the Premier League, I think he'll take it.
Rob, is there any value in this one?
Go on.
Don't fall off your chair.
I'm holding on.
Off the bench, different option for Arsenal.
I knew you were going to go there.
Or something a little different.
Yeah, I know.
No, he's not going to be their main striker. They're going to get another main striker.
So
but another guy.
Trained, he's regular trainer. He's not there. He's not got the general, I would say, football, of what they have. Yeah. You might have to miss him out on a bit of build-up.
Miss him. But in different game scenarios.
Yeah, it's not the worst shout in the world. I mean, if you're just talking pure goals, I would say he will get you more goals in that role than Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah.
Similar.
I think
money.
you're right. I mean, obviously this is a bit of tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But you're saying for somebody at that level,
I think the experience, the finishing ability,
is Chelsea, Robert. He goes against everything that they do, but you pay no money for him. You're paying salary.
Yeah, you're running it, and you get him running in behind.
Yeah.
Like Jackson does. He probably, and he's a better finisher than Nicholas Jackson.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough silliness.
We sound like we're Jamie Vardy's agent and we're touting him round. But yeah, we'll see how that all goes, Jamie Vardy. But yeah, what a Premier League player he's been. Looking forward to the statue, and when I go to KP, I'll be doing it. Let's quickly run through some of the results, mate. Chalking at Chelsea. Chelsea 1, Everton 0. Nicholas Jackson, first goal in 13 in the Premier League. Yep. Against another team that was missing Tarkowski, O'Brien and Branthwaite played together at centre-back.
Did.
Wasn't great by Chelsea. They got the job done, Rob. Cole Palmer's becoming a little bit of an issue. Can't get him in the game. Can't get him firing. Maresca's getting the job done. There's still a few rumblings around that the team aren't freed up and they're not really creating and playing as well as they should. But it's about Champions League and it's about getting in those top 5 spots for them now.
Yeah, it is. And it's an amazing race. This is a great race. And I know that the top and the bottom is kind of done and dusted. But this is a great race. I did watch this game. I watched Chelsea. Yeah. And, there's moments when they look really, really good. Some of the football build-up players really, really good.
Yeah.
Pedro Neto had a good game.
Yeah, he did play
Pedro Neto played on the right-hand side. Madueke played on the left-hand side.
Yeah, they swept him.
Was quick,
I thought
was
they both
direct.
did quite well. I thought Madueke did quite well as well.
Yeah, Jackson took his goal really well. Yeah. They just towards the like the second half of the second half, they kind of hold on a little bit. They're like a little, they're like an immature little, they're like a little puppy, like trying to figure out how to. They look so kind of shaky and flaky. Like they leave you panicking a little bit. The fans panic. I think the opponents sense that, and they throw balls into the box, and it's a little bit, it's 1-0. They never got that second goal to calm things down. So they got the job done. Big celebration. Rask was up in the. He was suspended. He was up in the stand. So big celebration, big relief, big 3 points, and that's the way they are right now. Chelsea, they're on a little. When they learn to ride a bike, they're on these little training wheels.
Stabilizers, little stabilizers.
They just look a little unstable still. They're very young. I hope they do it. I hope they do it because I think the club and the team and the manager and the fans will be relieved. They'll benefit from the experience of playing in that great competition, the Champions League. Correct. But it's going to be a race, and it's going to be a great race, tight race.
Absolutely. We went down to Vitality. Bournemouth won, Manchester United won. Semenyo with a lovely
great goal. Semenyo.
Yeah, really taken nice, a good player. Apparently, he's on the radar for Man United. Højlund with only his 4th goal of the season late on when Bournemouth went down to 10 men.
Really
Evan Nielsen getting a red card that thought was a little harsh. He looked like he slipped and deemed a serious foul play because his feet left the ground. Thought it was a little unlucky getting that card.
Yeah, I did too.
When Tyler Adams got away with one where, maybe he went in and tackled, which I think was a yellow card and was the right call. Yellow. But I don't know whether the referee felt any pressure to do something. Didn't learn anything more about Man United, really, Rob, than ahead of the Bilbao game. Bournemouth played quite well. I thought at times, and we did a little breakdown where Man United continue to want to play out the back, mate, and don't do it very well. And it causes them a problem.
Yeah, we had Gary Neville made a comment, was on our set, was a pitch side. And he said, he talked about, the day it was for Liverpool and how that affect, the total of titles and stuff like that. And he said, it's a sobering day, right? I thought it was, watching his former club was a sobering day. Watching Man United, Rob, against Bournemouth, where I'm literally going through the team sheet and I'm saying to myself, who would I rather have if these two teams were made into one team?
Man United players,
which is a sobering thought. And again, we've done this all season long. It's just there was nothing until they got an extra man. There was nothing to get you excited about Man United in the way that they were playing. Again, changes to the side. One thing I was going to ask you on this, Rob, how damaging is this season for the team, for the players, and for the manager? Are there going to be scars from this? I
think that's the bit that everyone's like, it's that free hit thing that I've always been uncomfortable with. They're 14th in the Premier League, and we're kind of saying it's a free hit. They've lost 15 Premier League games. They go to Bournemouth, Rob, and until Bournemouth are down to 10 men, look like they're not going to create a chance to give themselves something in the game. Now,
there's been nothing if improved, Rob. There's been no improvement, which is like, wow. Like
there was a couple of shots hammering, Rob, and I said to Tim, is it just me starting to look in things? But he looks fed up. He was sitting there. He was talking to the guy next to him. They were looking at the iPad a bit. He was looking down on the floor. I'm thinking, this can't be how he thought it. I know it's going to be difficult. I know that he's going, but there doesn't, like as you say, there doesn't look much progression. They're playing out the back, Rob, and they're a nervous wreck. You can see they've got no confidence in what they're doing.
Yeah, it feels like it's. And I don't want to talk about it too long, Rob, because I feel like we've repeated ourselves a little bit, but it feels like such a long way back. It feels like such a long way back to get to where he expects him to be. And this whole conversation of trying to play when you can't play, well, it's kind of Man United. And he was brought in to get back to a definitive style, and he's trying to do it in his way, in his system, but they ain't good enough. The players aren't good enough. I didn't want to talk much about Man United, Rob, but I watched the game and I was thinking, gosh, this really is damaging, and mentally on these players, how they can recover. I mean, Luke Shaw starting the game was good news.
Time in the year,
good news, so that's a positive. And Steve Mason Mount again came into the game, but wow, they've got such a long way to go. And next season, I mean, can anybody think that things are going to turn around that much? I mean, they hopefully make some good signings, but it looks still miles off.
Yeah, it does, but work to do. But big game against Bilbao on Thursday night. I mean, that's the season right there. That's Champions League football or not, Robin.
Rob,
Jim
just
Ratcliffe
a little,
was there, wasn't he?
sorry,
Jim
mate.
Ratcliffe was sitting in the stand.
Jim Ratcliffe was there. Yeah, and Bill Foley was there.
Yeah.
Bill Foley was there and greeting all the players and all that.
Yeah.
What an amazing job he's done, by the way, at this football club. Really just a quick line on Dean Howson.
Yeah.
I had a good look at him today. He's super polished, isn't he?
Yeah, he's good.
For a 20-year-old centre-back.
I mean, if I'm Liverpool, Rob, I'm going to do that business quite early, and then without having to pressurise and chuck him straight in, he can be with Canate on some days, maybe where I need to give Virgil a rest. He can work next to Virgil. He can learn. He can take his time to come in over a season, and then when he's ready, Rob. I mean, he could be a Rolls Royce. He could be looking at another Rolls Royce.
We could. I mean, if you watch the way he comes out with the ball, decision making, and he's slapping his passes with left and right feet into good positions, early passes. He's very, very tall. Yeah. He's got a very calm demeanour about him. You know, wow, for Liverpool, if they want a Alan Hansen type of
long term,
tall, I mean, he's 20. My goodness, £50 million, isn't it? £50 million clause. And the big ones, the big clubs are chomping at the bit. I think David Ornstein thinks it's going to be a Premier League team,
isn't it Richard Hughes who bought him? Isn't it Kirk Cousins who bought in? So he knows him, doesn't he? He knows what the deal is. He's knows done all good about work. His background.
He's done good work, Richard Hughes, and now he's at Liverpool. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying it could be the start of something for Liverpool and their recruitment and and go on to win things that they might go on to win. But I just wanted to give a quick shout out.
Yeah,
I feel like we haven't really talked about him much. We know about Kirk Ayres.
Yeah.
I mean, he's ready to go. Plug and play is your favourite phrase, mate. At any club, left back, left wing back, really, really good. I thought he was excellent. And of course, Semenyo's goal was a great goal. And let's talk about him going to Man United. So, Bournemouth have done well in the market and they've had a good season.
Brighton 3, West Ham 2. Strange game, Rob. He always scores a beauty for Brighton to put them 1-0 up. 1-0 to half-time. Into second half, Kudus brings one back. Souček with a typical Souček header. 83 minutes on the clock. You're thinking West Ham will come back 2-1. 89 minutes, Matoma, 3 subs came on, combined for Matoma to get an equaliser, and then Carlos Balaba scores a beauty, mate, with his left foot. It was another one on the conveyor belt at some point.
Right, another one, yeah.
He's a Carlos, super talent.
He is.
Pressure on Potter is the headline that I'm picking up, mate. Pressure on Potter.
Wow, we've been in this long enough now, mate, where I always thought it was about 8 games. If there's 8 games, bad results, you're under pressure. Yeah. I'm not sure what that number is. And of course, there's a little period at the beginning where
3 wins in 12 or something. I think his numbers aren't good.
Yeah, and that's the majority. It's not me. Like, let's give him time. Yeah. Let's see him a pre-season. Let's see a few more players that they spent. I'm not sure how much money they'll have to add to the squad, but it is surprisingly average from West Ham, and I did think there'd be an immediate pickup. Yeah. I think the goals against is better now, Robin. That's what they're clinging on to.
Yeah, that's what he was talking about, wasn't he? In that, if you look at.
But the only thing, and it's this, it raises its ugly little head, is sometimes a football. Yeah, it's a bit left, right. Yeah. Keep. We've said this before, Robin, in the Brighton days. It's great, and he did amazing.
You've got to get something.
But it's very, very, very patient, and you're like, shoot, somebody cross, somebody make a through ball. Yeah. And the West Ham fans, I think they want their football, but they want a bit of bite and a little bit of cutting edge to it. But let's just call the Jets a little bit on Graham Potter. But he's had a tough start. Yeah,
he has a tough start and had a tough season. Southampton won Fulham 2 seasons with a goal early. Smith Rowe came on as sub and Sessegnon. We've seen that story before, haven't we? Late Fulham goals. Marco Silva delighted to get a 2-1 win. Let's see Southampton heading back to the Championship, and Fulham continue to, 8th in the league, continue to give a good account of themselves. And he's one I like, Marco Silva. I know his name's been linked to Tottenham a little bit, Rob. He's one or two sort of saying strongly that he'd do a good job there. But Southampton heading to the Championship. Listen, mate, I'm gonna wrap it up there.
Hey, listen, before you wrap up, mate, I miss you a little bit, and we'll be getting together again next week at the Kentucky Derby.
Oh, Kentucky Derby, that's right.
Are we looking forward to a little bit of Derby action and having a few bets on the horses and putting our hats on and being at the paddock and all that?
Pink ties on the Friday, mint juleps.
Yeah, all day long.
Little bit I'm gonna phone a few people and get some insiders on some horses like you did last year. A bit of form. And we're going to enjoy that, mate, aren't we? We're going to enjoy
They got loads of days down there, haven't we? We've got shows Friday,
shows on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then back in the studio Sunday, Monday. So, Really looking forward to that. And
I'm just looking forward to it.
The funny thing is, Rob, how many football fans are there?
Oh.
Remember when we were in the paddock and there was Liverpool fans, there was United fans,
it felt like a little fan fest.
Yeah,
it felt like a little mini fan
they
fest.
All came and wanted to watch the game. And apparently now we've got a screen. So anybody listening, if you are at the Kentucky Derby, we're going to have a screen by the stage that we're on, so people can actually watch the games, Rob, as well.
So,
if they come round, so that's going to be great.
It's a proper party.
Yeah.
I loved it last time.
Yeah.
So anybody out there who's a fan of the two Robbies, come and say hi.
Fan of the Premier League, if you can, come and say hello, come and watch with the games, come and say hi and give us some tips on the best horses to go for.
Exactly.
Make sure you dressed up, because everybody dresses up.
I know, they do.
Derby. All right,
Fun
mate,
time.
we're going to leave it there. It's the weekend when Liverpool were confirmed as the 24-25 Premier League champions with 4 games to go. Congratulations to Arne Slot and his team. It's been a brilliant first season for the Dutchman, the first Dutchman to win the trophy. Elsewhere, Palace and Man City, they've got an FA Cup final to play in May, while we have to say kind of good luck to Southampton, Leicester and Ipswich as they head back to the Championship. We'll be back next weekend, that's Sunday, May the 4th, to recap Matchweek 35. And Chelsea will host the champions Liverpool. I think there's a guard of honour coming in there. And Chelsea definitely need some points to stay in the Champions League positions. But for now, I'm Earle. He's Mustoe together with the two Robbies. Thanks for watching and listening. Be safe, stay healthy. It's a good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Good night.
Good night.